World Slavery Tour with Iron Maiden for Power Slave with my friend Rich Tickner at the Philadelphia Vet Stadium back in the day. Twisted Sister opened for him too, I believe, and Yngwie Malmsteen opened. But Iron Maiden with my high school buddy, that was the first big one I got to go to. Ace Frehley's solo album. That was the first one I actually bought with my own money. And that was, I think that would be on, I think I'm memory serves right, it was Record Spot on Kensington Avenue here in Philadelphia. That record store, the guy in there it was Italian, a guy that owned it. It was his, and he was like our rock. He was like our rock and roll store for us neighborhood kids that didn't have a car. You can walk to it, and a lot of times you would go in there and used to get Who albums in there. Yes, Kiss, AC/DC, Rush, all the rock albums, and those. And then it started to slowly turn into Quiet Riot and Iron Maiden and Dio, Judas Priest that got into that. And as years went on, you were able to get more things like what else would he have in there that I can remember? Because there was a time that it got to about 1980, right around the winter of '82. Wall to Wall Sound and Video was kind of big in our neighborhood, so used to go there because you would get a lot more imported records. And that was a big year for me to go, and because that was my real serious introduction to heavy metal, because that's where I got Venom black metal, was with my Christmas money, and I had gotten Iron Maiden Number of the Beast, and I got Motorhead's Overkill album. But Record Spot was the first one as a kid on Kensington Avenue. Me and my friends would go to, because it was also the comic shop was around that area too. Kensington was our shopping district in our neighborhood. It had pretty much everything you can get there. It was butcher shops. You can get shades and blinds for your windows. You can get bikes, fishing gear. It had it all back in those days, and the Record Spot was our place. You could order records there, and that's where I started my, I guess, musical journey on my own with allowance money, doing chores around the house. And then it turned into Wall to Wall Sound and Video later. Impaled Nazarene Sadistic Execution on the when I was sessioning for Absu for bass and vocal duties as their hired gun in 1995 was it was great. I mean, they're great guys, man. A lot of fun, but it was wild. It was a wild, intense, man. It was great. One thing I will say was a lot of fun was when I did the Vikings and Tyrants tour for the second leg of Absu, 1997 touring year with Absu. R&R, or which was Inferno. They were Inferno at the time on the tour opening for Enslaved and Us, Absu at the time. And the funny thing about, them guys, they never heard Razor before. Neither did Enslaved. They never heard Razor before. And I don't think they heard Pile Driver, because Prescriptor had Pile Driver and I had Razor's Violent Restitution. So we introduced those guys to those bands actually on that bus, and they couldn't get enough of it. And that was a lot of fun, because that Violent Restitution was on constant rotation over and over and over. They just could not believe that a band like Razor slipped past them. They were upset, like a good upset that they found it, but they were like, damn it, how come we never got to hear this until now? And like somebody like me, there's always something new to hear. I didn't hear everything the time it came out. It takes years, because a lot of that stuff was not accessible. So it's fun when you get to turn on other bands to stuff that, you learned in your neck of the woods growing up, and they get to hear, you get to hear through their ears, their experience. It's a really fun thing to do. Touring wise, crazy. Yeah, the Sadistic Execution in Pale Nazarene was really great stuff. Well, I'll say this one: when Bloodstorm did a tour with Cult of Azazel in the summer of 2005, and I got dehydrated on that tour. We were driving from Richmond, Virginia to Huntsville, Alabama. We were trying to do it. We had to do it in one day because we were playing Richmond, and then the next we had to pack up and go right to Huntsville, Alabama the next day. So I had this ingenious invention. I'm like, I'll be okay. Nothing can stop me. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. So I took a bunch of Vivarin, ate a couple chocolate bars, a couple cups of coffee, and did the overnight leg run of going down the highway. Well, when it was sunrise, I couldn't take it no more. And Julian from Cult of Azazel had to take the wheel. When I got off of that, stopped driving, I threw up all day. And I was dehydrated. I couldn't play the show in Huntsville, Alabama. I had to go on a stretcher into the hospital. Wow. And when I was in there, I was actually 15%. Was it 10% dehydrated? I think the doctor said it was like 10% dehydrated, which according to them, if memory serves me right, they said it's really bad that if you hit 15, your organs can kind of like suffer damage.
Jesus.
But I was to the point where I was throwing up stomach bile and I had nothing coming up, but just black was coming up out of me. It was bad. And in that hospital, there was a crazy woman they brought in. She was strapped to a gurney. She was strapped down, sweating to death, like she had buckets of water dumped on her, screaming about, "Let me out of this place. I'm going to get out of here. I can't stand here. There's too much for me to do. They're waiting for me. The devil's waiting for me, and Jesus is waiting for me." The triumph is greatest in the year. Susie Quattro on bass. Okay, Kate DeLambre, Massett doing vocals. Kelly Johnson from Girl School on guitar. Lita Ford on guitar, I think would be good. Kelly and Lita would probably be really cool together, I think. Probably sound really cool. Drums, let me see. I mean, there's only so many. There's Jody from Rock Goddess. Fucking Denise, man. Denise Dufert from Girl School. I got to pick her. I have to pick Denise. Does that cover it?
Yeah.
So they got the two guitars. Yeah, there you go. They're the first one to come to mind. Yeah. Strengthen your stand. Unto your prayer. Broken nightmare. Vitality. Cut the collection. I was learning Carnivore's first album, debut album. I was trying to learn all the songs off of Carnivore's debut, and Necrophagia, Season of the Dead was one of my favorite albums at that time period when I got my first bass. So I was trying to learn like Ancient Slumber and Forbidden Pleasure, those songs, and then really it turned into Hellhammer after that too as well. But right at that time when I got my bass, I was really hot into doing Gorephobia, and I was heavily listening to the first Carnivore, the debut, and Seasons of the Dead, Necrophagia, and they were kind of also lyrically, Pete Steele and Killjoy. I was fascinated with the lyrics on both of the records. I thought Pete Steele was a wordsmith on that album. I loved it so much, and Killjoy had a good grasp of horror movie lyrics, good descriptions. So I naturally started practicing bass to those because that went hand in hand, because I was a lyric writer right at the same time I was doing bass. So they went hand in hand together. So first time doing guitar though was Hellhammer. It was Hellhammer songs, Messiah, The Reaper, songs like that. I would sit there and try to learn Metallic Storm. Well, for us here in Philadelphia, having that filmed was such a great honor to all of us metalheads, because we all knew the original Venom, Exodus, and Slayer, Ultimate Revenge. Everybody had that tape. We all did. And if we didn't have it, everybody borrowed it and taped it from each other. And you just taped it, and you got a second or third generation, and you didn't care if it was wavy or to say, you just wanted it. You wanted to hear those songs, see them bands, and just completely just have some thrash and rage in your living room with your friends. So when it got filmed, there was 22 of us in this van. The guy's name was Ray Ott. He was just out of high school. He had his own van. He laid carpet down. So he had this huge work van, but with no back windows in it. You could just pile in there. So there was 22 of us, including him, in this van. We drove down to that show and got into that show. We all got in. Half the people there, I think, didn't know what Death was in Dark Angel or Forbidden. They didn't really know any, but they just knew it was big. And then the other half of people were people like you and I, like us, that were there to go, finally, Philly's getting some real good recognition. Because before that, the biggest thing was the Creator and tour and Voivod tour the year before for the Tornado tour, which was at Empire, which was good. So when it got more people that were more mainstream into more underground music. It took way late for most people to get into it, but the Ultimate Revenge, when that happened, it was probably one of the biggest shows I ever experienced for Philadelphia as underground metal scene, because metal in Philly is mostly Cinderella and Britney Fox shit, which I'm not into at all. I don't like it. I never was into it. I never was. I have zero interest. I don't find nothing enjoyable about it. Especially when you grow up and you see these people around, you see how it's just kind of a big turnoff. So, anyway, that going into there and just the excitement level of seeing these bands all together like this and knowing it's going to be a piece of history film. And one person I did see there out of the crowd was Larry Mad Thrash Madison from Necrophagia. He was the guitarist at the time. And I can't say 100% sure it was him, but it looked exactly like him, because I used to write to Necrophagia. I used to be pen pals with Killjoy, and that he mentioned that they were going to try to come out to that show. And now I didn't see Killjoy, but that one guy I thought was Larry. It looked like Larry Mad Thrash Madsen, the guitarist for Necrophagia. It looked like him, but I was far away, but I saw him from off of the balcony down. I could see him. I'm like that, and me and my friend Harry were like, that looks like Larry Mad Thrash Madison down there. That look. And because we used to write to all these underground bands. And like I said, I was like, well, Killjoy said he's going to be here, but we didn't see Killjoy, but I swear that was him. And I'm actually in the beginning, just before Forbidden goes on, I'm sitting there hanging out with my brother's girlfriend, Linda, at the time. I don't know where my brother was, but he didn't go with me. It was me and my friends, but his girlfriend was there. His girlfriend at the time was way more into Death and Dark Angel than he was. I mean, Frankie liked it, but she was real into it. So there she was, and I'm hanging out. And right before Forbidden, you'll see there's a guy and a girl talking, a blonde hair girl and a guy with blonde hair. That's me. That's me and her. So I'm actually in the beginning of that videotape. We stayed side left and right. When Death came on, though, I could say when Death hit the stage, it was, everybody lit up in amazement at them, because most people, well, I can't say, I'll say at least half that people never got to hear Death before. Just I could tell by the reaction people had that this was something completely new for them, and they stole that show. Death stole that fucking show from everybody. Well, okay, I can't say they'd steal from Dark Angel. They were like this. Dark Angel and Death at that show were like this. I mean, they were both. They were astonishing. They were absolutely amazing. Top of the tier of their game playing. It was just beautiful. Chuck's voice at the time doing those songs when he bellows out his scream on Left to Die and everything. Just, people lost their fucking minds, man. Yeah. We all did. And it was super exciting. And then when Dark Angel hit the stage, all I wanted to hear was Darkness Descends. I love We Have Arrived. I love We Have Arrived. But all I wanted to hear was Darkness Descends. I wanted to hear that album start to finish. That's one of my favorites. I love that album. We all did. We're just like, Darkness Descends. When are they going to play all the songs? They did. They played them great. It was brilliant. And most people didn't know Dark Angel either. And it was new to them. A lot of more people knew of Raven and Faith or Fear, because Faith or Fear were a Philly-based band. They were a local band in Philadelphia that made it. I don't know how they made it. Out of all the bands in the area, I don't know how they made it on the to Combat Records, but they did. And knowing them guys, the guitar player Chris was a really cool guy. I didn't know the other guitar player, but that drummer, he was a douchebag. He used to act like a jerk. He used to act like a jerk towards people. So it was kind of like, whatever, Rich. The kid thought he was just the best thing since fucking sliced bread. So it was kind of, whatever. I was just like, yeah, hello, guys, get it. We're waiting for, me and all my friends were up in the balcony waiting for death. We're like, we all like Forbidden. Everybody liked Forbidden. Everybody did. Everybody enjoyed them. They were really great. And I never heard them until that. That's the first time I heard Forbidden, was live on that stage. And it was really super excellent. They were great. So they turned everybody onto that. Faith and Fear was like, we're going to sit down and we're going to have a fucking soda and a heart blessing back here until death come on, So we did that. Death opened up all the windows for everybody. It was brilliant. When Dark Angel got done, the funny thing about them is they decided to stage dive. The only one that didn't stage dive was Gene Hoglan. Thank God, because that man is like a giant. He's like fucking King Kong to us back in the day. He was big boy. But the other guys jumped off with the stage, and we were holding them up. We got to hold them all up. Reinhardt, the vocalist at the time, he was a nice guy. He was really cool. They were nice. We didn't get to meet them because they were so crowded and busy. It's too fucking great. There was no meeting anybody there. But I gotta say, at that time period, as much as I love Raven, and I love Raven's first 3 albums, to me they are flawless albums. But I got to tell you, by the time they were on that 1988 tour, they did those other albums, The Pack Is Back and all that. Oh my, they were so terrible. Those albums were absolute fucking garbage to me. It broke my heart. Nothing broke my heart more than Celtic Frost, Cold Lake. But those Raven albums, the Pack Is Back and all, they broke my heart, man. They were all with the makeup and they were playing horns. I'm like, what happened to fucking Faster Than the Speed of Light, Sledgehammer Rock and all that other stuff? It's not fucking there no more, It's just, it wasn't. And I wanted to see them, but they were doing newer stuff. Wacko wasn't the drummer no more, which was a disappointment to me because I loved him behind the drum kit. So we were kind of like, let's leave. We left. We didn't stay. We stayed for Raven for a little bit. We weren't hearing any of the songs that we wanted to hear. We were like, I'm out. We're out.
Wow.
Death and Dark Angel took the fucking show and took all the wind out of us.